Hello there, my movie peeps. Appreciate you clicking on an episode of Side Flick. Let's get on to some movie news. Some of the things we'll be discussing here today, guys, is we got the announcement of a brand new live-action Lord of the Rings movies. Do we care? We finally got an update on the live-action Poppy's Playtime movie. Some really interesting updates the past couple of days on the new Friday the 13th series. Finally, time to see Jason back in our lives, baby. Ooh, we're going to be getting into that along with so much more, so you guys know the drill. Leave your opinions down below. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor of today's video, Helix Mattress. Just got my bad boy in. Helix is a premium mattress that's customized to fit your needs and is conveniently shipped to your door. When looking in to get my Helix, I went to go take my sleeper quiz to decide what mattress would be best suited for my needs and body type. After answering a quick few simple questions, I landed on the Helix Midnight. The reason this turned out to be best for my needs is because I end up sleeping on my side, and this has a lot of support for that. It also comes with Glacial Tex cooling, which is perfect for this Texas weather because summer's coming up and it's about to get hot. And thanks to Helix's easy delivery, installation is gonna be no problem. Okay, let's get this bad boy in there. It's also worth noting that their mattress comes with a 100-night sleep trial test. Each mattress comes with a 10-year warranty, and they also offer finance options for flexible payment plans. And the unboxing was quick and simple and a little fun. Okay, I don't know what's happening here, but I'm scared. This is the beginning of a horror movie right here. Stay Puft Marshmallow coming in. Wrangle that cowboy. I love my Helix mattress, and I think you would love it too. If you're looking for a new bed, check out Helix Sleep. Their Memorial Day early access sale is running now through May 12th, and it's a great time to upgrade your mattress. You can get 30% off Elite or Luxe mattress, plus 2 free pillows, or take advantage of the 25% off site-wide. Check out the Helix site for more details. Thank you again to Helix Mattress for sponsoring today's video. Let's begin with Lord of the Rings, okay? Now, before we even begin this story, I always have to give the disclaimer. Your movie boy, your man who brings you all this movie stuff, never watched Lord of the Rings. Come at me. Bring your sister, I'll punch her. Yeah, I know. It's definitely one of those movies I know I need to get around to, sit down and watch, and everyone says, just watch the extended cut one day, all through, Chris. But I never got around to it just because I was never big on fantasy films, and also it was one of those movies that was just so well praised, so talked about so much, it felt like I actually already did watch the movies. I'm like, what's the point of watching them if I know every little detail from everything I've seen movies, TV shows, and friends talk about? But whatever the case, now diving into the story here, it came out of nowhere, and Warner Brothers announced they will be making a new live-action Lord of the Rings movie. The film is going to be titled The Hunt for Gollum. It'll be set to release in 2026. Peter Jackson, the director of the previous Lord of the Rings movies, is going to be coming back as producer, and Andy Serkis, who did a lot of the motion capture for Gollum, is also going to direct this movie. Alright, so even though I'm not much of a Lord of the Rings guy, I have a lot of thoughts on this. For one, we shouldn't be surprised. This is Warner Brothers. They have been on this crusade ever since David Zaslav has taken over the company and looking at what IPs they see valuable and trying to exploit them for money because they desperately need it. We knew this was true when they announced a reboot for the Harry Potter series using the exact same logo and theme song to announce the reboot, trying to kickstart off their DC universe, which is like the only thing I actually have faith in, mainly because of James Gunn. And now here with Lord of the Rings, one of the most iconic film trilogies of all time, being resurrected from the dead. I don't think I love the addition of Andy Serkis as director here. Now, don't get me wrong, Andy Serkis is the GOAT, okay? This man has done a lot, okay? From his motion capture work, more specifically with Caesar, because that's what I mainly know him from, but also loved him as Alfred in the Batman. He's an amazing, talented actor, but when it comes to directing, I don't necessarily buy him there all the way. His last 2 projects were a movie titled Mowgli, and of course, Venom Let There Be Carnage, which is just insane that he's going from Venom Let There Be Carnage to Lord of the Rings. What a promotion, baby. Of course, he could definitely prove us wrong. I mean, he was working alongside Peter Jackson a lot in that previous trilogy. He's had a lot more time to grow since then, so this could actually really work out for him and be good. But I can even see it amongst the Lord of the Rings fans that they smell the bit of desperation coming off Warner Brothers and trying to do something just to earn some money. In fact, there's already a fan short film titled Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum that apparently is very beloved. There was even a video game that came out recently where you get to play as Gollum. So it's not even the most original idea or take into this universe, but hey, it could turn out being good, right? So this will definitely be my excuse to watch all the Lord of the Rings movies for the very first time and possibly talk about them here on the channel with you guys. But for some of you more diehard Lord of the Rings fans, how do you feel about Warner Brothers resurrecting this property? You know what's crazy? There's still an animated Lord of the Rings movie, I think, coming out this year, maybe next year, but they have not marketed this thing. They've not talked about it. It just feels like, does anyone even care about that happening? Because that's not a good sign for them people caring about the live action movies. Moving on from there, we had some updates concerning Disney overall that I definitely wanted to share and talk about, you guys. Starting off with this new announcement they made that Disney is going to be partnering up with Warner Brothers Max and creating a streaming bundle this summer where you just pay one price and altogether you would get Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max. Now, again, this is a bundle package, so it's still 3 separate apps. I know recently Disney and Hulu have kind of combined and you can find Hulu inside Disney. This isn't a situation where you'll have Disney Plus and you can find HBO Max in there. No, it's more the type of thing where you'll get access to separate apps. But like, this is definitely taking the internet by storm because now we've gotten so far into the streaming wars that we're starting to work backwards our way to cable, because that's essentially how cable works, right? Back in the day, you maybe paid for a couple of channels. You wanted this channel, you wanted that channel, and then they're like, oh, what if we just give you a package? We'll give you the sports channels, the cartoon channels, the channels where the ladies dance naked. You know what I'm talking about? And now with the just endless amount of streaming apps we get, this was inevitable. A lot of them are starting to fail. There's writing on the wall that like apps like Paramount Plus are doomed to fail. Peacock is also on that list. So it's an interesting proposition that this will happen, and it'll also be interesting to see what other streaming platforms go knocking on their doors and go, Peacock, how would you like to join our Paramount Mountain and become Cock Mountain? It could happen. I'd buy that bundle for $1. The thing that's going to be the ultimate downfall, though, I think, of streaming services is just the constant price raising. That's the craziest thing. It feels like every other month I go on to one of my streaming apps and it gives me a notification that says, hey, by the way, we raised it $2 and you have to watch ads now. Now enjoy this episode of Young Sheldon. So that's just something I wanted to bring up and hear your guys' take on. Then we had Disney, Bob Iger, the CEO, also talk a little bit about his movie output with the company. Specifically with Marvel, this feels like something that they've been saying like over and over. Every 6 months, they just say this, where they confirm and say that they will be releasing no more than 3 movies and 2 TV shows per year, hoping to cut back on their release, which, you know, it's fine. I honestly think that's still too much. If I had it my way, I'd do away entirely with the shows and make it 2 movies every 2 years. Like this year in the MCU, we're only really getting Deadpool 3. And that feels awesome. That just is nice. This one MCU movie that we could all gather around and talk about for the rest of the year. If we had Deadpool and then Fantastic Four and then Spider-Man 5 all in this year, like it's too much, man. Let me hype up one movie. But we'll see how it goes. There was even comments that were floating around about Kevin Feige being honest about the kind of not downfall, but the dip in quality of the MCU, where the statement said, Kevin Feige says he's comfortable with the MCU being the underdog again. I prefer being able to surprise and exceed expectations. You'd have to live under a rock not to know that the last few Marvel movies have failed to ignite the world in a way that so many did, adds Sean Levy. And yeah, man, it's just kind of interesting to see Kevin Feige be honest about kind of the dip in quality in Marvel. I feel like Kevin Feige, the past couple of years, we've seen articles where he started to take steps into fixing things in the MCU, but those little steps, we're not going to see the outcome of that for a couple of years. Deadpool and Wolverine might be one of the first ones where we actually get to see, but I think it won't be until the Fantastic Four releases where we're really like, oh, Marvel's made some changes. And then ending off these Disney comments with Bob Iger also talking about him wanting to balance original movies and sequels to some of their popular films. And you know, I think it's going to be more sequels than original movies for a little bit because they are hurting for money. I don't know if you guys saw the articles, but they recently came out with the numbers for the movies that lost the most amount of money last year. And 4 out of the top 5 of those movies were Disney films. They're really starting to take a hit, and it's time for them also to make some changes. In these articles, they were saying they could be likely that we see Finding Nemo 3 or Incredibles 3. I would be so happy with Incredibles 3 if the movie was more in line with the first film, because I wasn't that big on Incredibles 2. But anyway, Disney's making moves and changes. How do you feel about all these Disney updates? Moving on from there, we got to talk about an update concerning a live-action video game headed our way, Poppy Playtime. It came out here today through the Hollywood Reporter that video game Poppy Playtime getting a movie treatment via Legendary. And you know what's crazy about this announcement is I saw a lot of people online talking about it, discussing it, tagging me in, and I'm like, guys, I literally just talked about this like a couple of months ago. I'm like, this isn't that big of news. They actually already announced this movie. I went to go check on the last time I talked about this movie announcement. It was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, man. I did not think the announcement of this movie being in development was 2 freaking years ago. And it's taken that long for them to finally find a studio willing to partner up with them to get this movie made. So let me go into explaining what this video game is and why I'm actually excited for it. So in the article, they have a good summary of what this is. Featuring shades of Willy Wonka, Toy Story, and Gremlins, the first-person video game sees the player acting as a former employee of a faded toy brand who, thanks to a cryptic letter, is drawn back to an abandoned facility only to quickly discover it has become the home to a host of toys, including Huggy Wuggy, Mommy Longlegs, and Catnap, that have taken on a life of their own. Players have to decipher clues, solve puzzles, and use gadgets to unravel the mystery and get out alive. There's a lot of people that compare this to like a Five Nights at Freddy's, which I guess is understandable, but it's like Five Nights if it was set in a toy factory. But I feel like there's different enough things. Now, I myself have never personally played the video games, but I have seen several videos of some of my favorite streamers playing the game, and it always gets me laughing, and I am a sucker for these crazy cool designs. You know me, I hype up these kind of weird little movies, whether it's Willy's Wonderland, demonic toys, killer clowns from outer space. I freaking love horror movies where the horror characters are just these colorful, really out there monsters or things. And Poppy's Playtime in live action is probably gonna look so awesome because I love some of the designs of these little toy monsters. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for it. It's just crazy how long it's taken for this to kind of move forward, because like I said, it was announced 2 years ago, and it took 2 years for a studio to be like, well, we saw Five Nights at Freddy's made that money. What you got, Poppy Playtime? How do you guys feeling on this update with Poppy Playtime? And well, sticking on the horror train, before we get to talk about some Friday the 13th, last night we had the premiere of The Strangers Chapter 1. Now, you guys know I've been really anticipating this movie as a big slasher fan. In fact, I'm getting ready to rewatch the first 2 movies, and I'll be busting out one of my classic horror movie reviews for you. So be on the lookout for that. But, I've got to say now, looks like we got to tame our expectations because the early reactions from this movie are pretty dang mixed. Let me go into one of the first reviews I saw for this movie that gave me a little bit of hope. We had here one person say, "The Strangers Chapter 1 is a suspenseful and intense thriller that will have viewers on the edge of their seat and begging for more. The cliffhanger ending is brutal and might leave some feeling unsatisfied. Stay for the mid-credits scene for a taste of what's next." Another one says, "Just watch The Strangers movie and here are my thoughts. Honestly, I loved it. Had some great scares and the way it sets up the next chapter was so good. I will admit that the acting in the first half kind of felt CW-ish, but when the action kicked in, the main actors did amazing." So I was like, okay, well, we're seeing some slight nitpicks here and there, but overall, people are digging this. Then I got to some other reactions. We had one here say, "The Strangers Chapter 1 completely misses the mark. It lacks the dread, suspense, and realism that made the first film so terrifying in favor of cheap jump scares and pretty people. This is a film that's more veered to the CW crowd." Another review here says, "The 3 killers were completely wasted in the new Strangers movie. They just walked around or ran. Even Prey at Night knew how to use them properly. The movie unfortunately just dragged. The cliffhanger was meh. Also, enough with Is Tamara home?" Oh man, these kind of get me a little bit worried. At the same time, little interesting. I would say there's a huge jump in tone from like the first Strangers and Prey at Night, which is why I'm excited to review them side by side in a video coming up for you guys to talk about that. And well, we knew this is a planned trilogy. They already filmed 3 movies. The first one's coming out in a couple of weeks. The second one is set to come out sometime around Halloween, and then the third movie will be early 2025. I really was hoping that they had a good idea, but then I started getting worried when they'd say this movie would be exploring why the strangers do what they do. They even recently said that they will finally tell us who Tamra is. And it felt like maybe these just weren't questions that needed to be answered. Of course, there's the other side of people that say the strangers should have never been a franchise. It was a great one and done horror movie. Let's leave it at that. And well, as a guy who loves horror movie sequels, even when they get awful, no, let's not leave it at that. I'm hoping I come out on the positive side and ending up loving this franchise, but I'm sure some people aren't surprised at all. Are you surprised that The Strangers Chapter 1 is getting mixed reviews? And where's your excitement level for this trilogy? All right, now bringing us now to talk about some Friday the 13th, because we have an update on my boy Jason Voorhees. All right, so just kind of give you a quick summary of what's been happening with Jason the past couple of years. You know, for a while, the reason we weren't getting a Friday the 13th movie is because he was in a legal battle in court for years. Thankfully, that legal battle ended, but it did end with the rights of Jason being split in two. The two people who were battling in court this whole time now own different parts of Jason Voorhees, which makes it extremely difficult to get a movie made. So until those two parties figure out how to come together and split the profit for a new movie, the only way we were going to get something Friday the 13th related was in TV show form, because apparently the rights to TV are separate and a lot less tricky to handle. That's where we got the announcement that Brian Fuller would be coming in to make a Friday the 13th prequel series titled Crystal Lake that would focus on Jason Voorhees' mom, Pamela Voorhees, and even A24 was on board to produce it. I was like, okay, look, I know it's not the ideal thing we want. I kind of get annoyed with these like prequel things when it's like we just want to focus on Jason, but it's like I do like Pamela Voorhees. A24 can maybe bring something interesting there. I was like, bring it on. Maybe this could be good. But the Hollywood strike happened. Things were silent. No updates were coming. We were like, man, ¿qué está pasando? And well, at the beginning of this week, there were reports going around that the show was entirely canceled. And I was like, no, this was like the only Friday the 13th thing we were gonna get. I'd rather have this than no Jason in my life at all. But thankfully, that doesn't seem to be the case. It is not canceled. And in fact, it looks like it might be changing direction. So we got here an article from Deadline that says, Brian Fuller exits the Friday the 13th prequel series, search for new showrunner underway. Brian Fuller finally commented on what was going on, and he said here, for reasons beyond our control, A24 has elected to go a different way with the material. We hope the final product will be something Friday the 13th fans all over the world will enjoy. And you know what? This might end up being good news for a lot of people that were not interested in the Pamela Voorhees prequel series that Crystal Lake was going with, because Brian Fuller, that was his story. That was his idea. It's like, let's focus on Mama Voorhees, how she's also a crazy killer girl, and raises little kid Jason. Again, not gonna lie, I kind of wanted to see how that pans out, but if they're not going that direction anymore, what direction are they headed in? The only obvious turnaround is a classic Friday the 13th story where it's Jason versus a couple of campers or young adults in TV show form. Let's do that, baby. Now, again, I'm not saying that is what's going to happen, but if you got to think they're not doing the prequel thing, well, then what are you going to do? Hopefully, it's just Jason in the hockey mask, in the clothes, machete in hand, chasing around people, slashing them. I'd watch 8 to 10 episodes of that. You know, as up and down as I have been with the Chucky TV series, one thing that the Chucky TV series did phenomenal was let Chucky be a main character, was put him in the forefront. So many TV shows about old horror movies, they do this prequel or they focus on a random person. But the Chucky TV series never did that to us. They still kept Chucky the main guy. So maybe A24 is kind of taking a page out of their book and is going, you know, if they can have Chucky as a main villain the whole time, let's just let Jason be there the whole time. And this also just kind of feels like a better use of the Friday the 13th story with us not knowing when we can get a movie, because I remember when they were doing interviews on this Crystal Lake show and what it was going to be, Brian Fuller at the time said that the TV show can do anything in the Jason Voorhees world. He said exactly, as a streaming series, we have the right to do everything under the Friday the 13th umbrella. The movie rights are completely different thing. They are tied up at New Line and are super, super messy and probably won't be untangled anytime soon. But as far as us chickens in the television industry, a roost. We have access to anything and everything that the Friday 13th has done up until this point. Which again is crazy, because if you have the ability to like redo things that you have done in the movies, whether it's Jason X or even Jason Takes Manhattan or a simple Friday 13th story with him going against campers, why would you miss out on all that great material to just focus on, Pamela raising little teenage Jason? Not telling that was going to be bad, but fans would be much happier with just Jason doing his classic thing. So we'll see what route A24 goes with. We have some people saying that they're still going to end up canceling the show and it won't even happen, which I just hope isn't the case, because like I said, we're not getting a movie anytime soon. This is all we can get for now, so we might as well just take it. It feels like all our horror icons are going to TV. Don't forget, they did announce the new Halloween reboot will start as a TV show that'll lead into movies. How are you guys feeling on this update with the Friday 13th? But anyways, guys, that is all the movie news we currently have going on right now. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch me talk some movie news. Don't be forgetting to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.